In this video, you're going to continue working with the exec_sync method of the child process module and then use it in your project. So since it's a sync version of the method, we will still need to make sure we handle errors effectively. So let's use a try catch statement. Like this, and let's set the output to a variable, for example, result equals this. And now let's console.log results, and let's see what we get. Here we go. We can see our current location right there. Now you want to calculate the size of a folder. So if you remember, in the command line crash course, we used the du command, and to get the human readable formats, you add the option S and H, followed by the path of the folder that you are interested in. So let's try this one, for instance. So it says no such file or directory, and the reason why is because we have to escape the spaces. Okay, so if you try the same command but escaping the spaces like this, so it still does not work. There is a space there that I skipped. And now I get the size of this folder. Now, if you do this in your Node code, you will need to place the path of the folder following your command du -sh inside double quotes like this. So I strongly recommend using double quotes to make sure it works in all systems. So here we go. So let's save and try our code. And here we are getting the correct results. Now you will still need to manipulate this string to get your data, but for now you can see that it does work. Now if you are working with only one method of this Node module, then there is no need to define the whole module there. You can just define the method exec_sync like that, and then you go to the module and then you write dot exec_sync, and then you use the function straight away. So if you try that, it should be fine. All right. Now another way of writing this using ES6, you can just place this inside curly brackets and remove that, and it still works. So this is similar to writing that you are defining an object and you're setting the parameter exec_sync of the object to a variable exec_sync, which you are setting to this object. So this object has got also a parameter exec_sync. So what's going to happen? You're going to store inside this variable the value or the property exec_sync of that object. All right. So this is a really good use of ES6 destructuring. Okay, so now let's go back to our project and use this function. So I'm going to copy that and use it at the top like that, and also let's use something similar to this. Now you want to apply that code to your variable item full static path. Now, as we said earlier, you really need to escape any spaces that you've got inside. So you will need to convert that variable to a new variable. So let's call it. So first of all, let's say that we're going to escape spaces, tabs, etc. Okay. So in our case, it's only spaces, but we're going to use a method which will remove anything like that. So spaces, new line, tabs, etc. Even though we are interested mainly in spaces in this scenario. In other scenarios, you may want to remove everything. So let's define a new variable and call it item full static path cleaned. So we're going to take that one and then we're going to replace all spaces. So let's see what regular expression we're going to use. And we're going to replace all those with an escaped space. So the regular expression you want to use here is \s. So this will correspond to any space, tab, or new line. All right. And we're going to add the global option to replace all of them, not only the first one. So this is the clean path. And now if you apply exec_sync using that command, then inside here, you can just place your variable item full stack cleaned. And let's call this variable command output. Right, so now let's just console.log command output and see what we get. All right, so for that folder, that's the results we're getting. That's another one, and so on. All right, perfect. So now we need to manipulate each of these results and get only the information that we need. We only want that piece of information. So I suggest you pause the video here, then extract that bit from the results, which will be your human readable format, and then convert that result to bytes, which will go in your second parameter or your second element in the array. So once you finish, then you can come back to compare your findings with whatever we're going to be doing together. All right, I hope you managed to find the solution. So first of all, what we can do is remove all spaces from the results, okay? And then we will split the outputs using the separator /. And then after that, your first item is going to be this one, right? So let's go ahead and do this. So let's define a new variable. Let's call it file size. And that's going to be our command output, which we're going to change. So we're going to replace all spaces, tabs, etc. with empty strings. So instead of that, we're going to have an empty string. And then we are going to split the output using this separator. So just to make our code readable, I'm going to explain here what we're doing. So remove all spaces, tabs, etc. And then we're going to change the variable again. So we're going to need let instead. So split file size using the / separator. So we're going to use the split method, and we're going to pass the separator there. All right, so once you get this, let's see what our variable file size looks like. Okay, so this is an example of an array we are getting. So that's the size we are interested in. So all you need to do is get the first element. So the human size is the first item of the array. So let's get that. And let's print it just to check. So here we go. So for this one, we're getting that one. And that's another example. Okay, perfect. So it's printed twice because we had this twice. So if you try again, then you're going to get it only once. All right. So file size is going to be the first item inside your array. So now if you try this code, you will get the correct size there for all folders. So let's try, and you can see that we're getting the right size for folders. Perfect. So now the next step is to convert that size to bytes, basically. So you will need to extract both the number and the unit separately. And depending on what units you're going to get, you can easily convert that to bytes. So for example, in this scenario here, we're going to get 108, and then the unit is K for kilobyte. So we will just multiply 108 with 1000 to get the number of bytes. So let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to define a new variable and call it the unit or file size unit. So to get the unit out of this string, you can just go to the string, replace everything that is a digit or a dot and replace that with an empty string. So you will keep only the unit there. So let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to go to our file size, which is that. And then we will replace all those elements that we don't need anymore. We're going to replace them with an empty string. So let's look now for the correct regular expression. So first of all, you want to replace digits. Okay, so a digit is going to be \d. Also, you want to replace any dots. So to add something, you just add a vertical bar like that, and then you add the other elements you want to look for. And in our case, we're looking for a dot, so we're gonna have a backslash and then a dot. Backslash to escape, okay, and then a dot. So that's all we need to replace. So let's see what we get if we console.log the units. So here we go, we've got K for that one. I've got K for that one as well. Same there, same there. All right, perfect. So let's try with this one. So we've got M there for megabytes, K, M, and so on. So this is working. So we're getting the right unit. Now that we've got the unit, we need the number, which we'll convert afterwards to bytes. So let's define another variable and call it file size number. So we're going to follow the same process that we did before, but instead of replacing dots and digits, we will replace any characters between A and Z, regardless of whether they are capital or small characters. So our search is going to be insensitive. So let's copy that and change it. So we are replacing all characters between A and Z, and we're doing a case insensitive search, so that's going to be I. And let's surround AZ with brackets, and finally let's console.log the results to make sure it works. And you can see here that you got the correct number without the units. So that's the unit and that's the number. Now you want to convert this number to bytes, and that's what you're going to do in the next video.